Hello, and thanks for having me at this online version of the ECM conference. My name is Sonja Baumgartner, and I was a PhD student and a postdoc in the research group for materials and additive manufacturing at TU Wien. My topic was, and still is, the combination of different printing strategies and technologies to produce so-called digital materials. And in a project together with Cubicus, we developed a large-scale hybrid printing system which opens up a new dimension to 3D printing. With many additive manufacturing experts in the audience, I will not go into detail here about the available technologies, but what is important to mention is that there are already dozens of well-established printing technologies on the market, with many more still coming, as well as hundreds of printing companies on the rise. And each printing technology has its advantages. Some are fast, some can print multiple materials at once, some have high resolutions, and others might have good surface quality. But to exploit all advantages of 3D printing, it might be necessary to find new combinations. And of course, it is true that all current additive manufacturing technologies do have their advantages. They are said to allow the production of parts with nearly unlimited freedom of design. There is great production flexibility, new materials can be processed, and so on. However, the real benefit of the typical layer-wise production, which now gives us the opportunity to access each point in a part, is rarely addressed. Slicing of a CAD file is not only a necessary evil which defines the printing time and the resolution. With this method, we now have the tool to disassemble a part to its very basic structures called voxels or volumetric pixels and define the parameters and properties for each of them. And with the layer-wise build-up of additive manufacturing, we now, for the first time, have the possibility to access each of those volume segments during the build-up of a printed part. And this gives us the opportunity to not only layer-wise alternate materials, but to selectively change their properties and therefore produce real digital materials. From a material science point of view, this might give us new possibilities in designing materials and material combinations. One of the most serious issues in 3D printing materials, especially in systems using photopolymers, is the limited toughness and the unfavorable creep behavior of commonly available resins. In order to increase the plastic zone, which is here, around the tip of a propagating crack, and therefore increase the resistance against its growth, which is commonly used as a definition of toughness, the dissipated energy in the material has to be maximized. And this can be done by either increasing the deformed volume or the flow stress or increasing the strain at break. Historically, we have been working with stereotography-based printing systems in our group at TU Wien because they have many advantages. Most of all, a very high resolution when using laser-based systems, but also with certain projectors. The surface quality is really good, actually unparalleled, and when using DLP light engines, printing can be really fast. But however large their advantages might be, material properties, throughput, and the lack of multi-material printing were ever a point of discussion. So when designing potentially tough photopolymers, there are several paths which you can follow. Either one can increase the internal friction by introducing hydrogen bonds or any other kind of physical bonds, or reduce the crosslink density by, for example, using chain transfer agents. Or you can strengthen the material by using high molecular weight additives or using crosslinkers. And when using core shell particles or having phase separations or weak interface, you introduce heterogeneity into your system, which then again can increase the plastic zone and therefore reduce the crack propagation. This notion of selectively placed weak interfaces brought forth the idea to modify one of our existing DLP-based printing systems and add an inkjet printhead. Inkjet is not really famous for outstanding toughness, but it is able to precisely and selectively place tiny ink droplets of several picoliters on nearly any surface. After curing one layer, the printhead moves up, turns around, and the printhead jets tiny droplets on previously defined places. It is also absolutely necessary to have a clean and dry surface in order to be jetted upon. To combine those two systems, one CAD file is generated for each, and both systems have different resolutions and boundary conditions which have to be aligned. With this first hybrid system, it was possible to achieve the very first modified stereolithography parts. You can see ink droplets on a functionalized glass slide on the left-hand side, and droplets of the very same ink inside of a 3D printed part. And as you can see, size, positioning, and resolution are reproducible even when jetted in the very volume of the part, as you can see here. To show that those weak interfaces have a significant influence on the mechanical properties of the printed material, we conducted several mechanical tests such as DMA, RSA, impact, and tensile tests. And in each we were able to see a softening effect resulting from the ink component, but an increase of impact strength and elongation at break, as shown here in the tensile test results. We jetted different amount of ink inside of the parts and observed a linear behavior with increasing ink amount. And while tensile strength was reduced by 15%, an increase of up to 55% of the strain at break was observed. Also for impact tests, where we had to conduct instant tests because of the small building platform, we gained similar results. So there was an increase of the impact strength with increasing ink content. And this was true for each printing direction. This first adaptation of stereolithography plus inkjet hybrid system was therefore more than successful regarding general feasibility studies. So we can now print small parts from two different materials and even see an effect on the thermomechanical properties. But this system has its weak points. It is barely heatable, therefore we are limited in the materials which can be processed. The ink system does not allow for any post-curing, and of course it is of no real industrial relevance because it is slow and the building platform is very small. To overcome those problems, we teamed up with Cubicus in a joint project supported by the Vienna Business Agency. In a stark contrast to common available SLA materials, Cubicus hot lithography opens up a large process window and allows to print high viscous and otherwise difficult materials. Their newest developments include a large-scale printer which offers a build size of 300 centimeters times 1 meter and consists of a moving printhead applying resin in a dynamic and continuous process. This revolutionary printing system transmits minimum peeling force to the printed parts and therefore allows the printing of most delicate structures up to large volume parts over a length of 1 meter. But further, because of the easy access to the whole printing area during printing, this technology can easily be used as a base for a combined printing system. In this project, we extended this large-scale Cubicus hot lithography system with a fully functioning inkjet system, including fluid delivery, printheads, as well as a post-curing unit, which allows to cure the selectively placed ink droplets on the substrate. After curing of the SLA layer, the part surface comes off dry and clean, as you can see here, which is obligatory if you want to jet on the substrate. For the studies, we included two different printheads in the systems, different in drop volume, resolution, and temperature. To evaluate the necessary printing parameters for the inks, we as well integrated a drop watching system, which is an advanced stroboscope to check the drop's behavior in flight. Increasing voltage and pulse width increases the drop's velocity and therefore the optimal printing distance. A too high velocity, however, increases the possibility of so-called satellite drops and therefore loss of resolution. finding the acoustic optimum, which is here, for each ink and printhead has priority in material testing. Also crucial for future applications is the compatibility of ink and resin, which has been tested for various combinations during these first studies. You can see here a set of multicolored parts printed with this new hybrid system. Printed were glass-like amorphous resins, tough resins, which needed over 70 degrees C to be printed, filled resins, and composites like this artificial ivory structure you can see here in the middle. Using multiple printheads in a row, it is even possible to include multiple colors in one part. With this combined printing system of Cubicus hot lithography and inkjet technology, we now have a powerful tool to print not only colorful parts with good mechanical properties, but very many of them at once. This technology opens up new possibility for future implementations. Coloring parts for aesthetic reasons is only one apparent application. With the combination of high-resolution printing and selective modification, we can insert more information into a part, for example by marking it during printing or altering the mechanical properties in specific areas. Even introducing conductive inks can be thought of. With this, I would like to leave you on those thoughts about exciting new applications and thank my former group at TU Wien, as well as the Cubicus team for their support, the Vienna Business Agency for funding this very ambitious project, and you for your kind attention.